Amora was 13 years old, but her eyes still sparkled like that of a child who believed the world was safe and kind. She lived with her mother, Mama Amora, in a small but lively part of the city. The apartment wasn't much, just one bedroom with cracked paint on the walls, a squeaky wooden door, and a little veranda where Amora loved to sit and dream. Her favorite pastime was watching the city lights at night. The tall buildings glowed, cars honked in traffic, and people rushed about their busy lives. Amora would whisper to herself, "One day, I'll be among them. One day, I'll be important too." Her mother was all she had. Amora never knew her father. Mama Amora had raised her alone. Though they didn't have much, her mother's laughter was enough to fill the room with warmth. On most evenings, Amora would run errands for neighbors, carrying small trays of roasted groundnuts or sachet water to make a little money. When she returned, her mother would smile, ruffle her hair, and say, "You are my sunshine, Amora. You will shine brighter than this whole city one day." Those words always made Amora's chest swell with hope. But things began to change the day a man named Mr. Patrick came into their lives. It was a Saturday evening. Amora was sitting on the veranda, counting the coins she had earned that day. She had just enough to buy a meat pie from the corner shop. Mama Amora came home from the market, not alone this time. A tall man with a wide smile and a leather jacket followed her. "Amora," Mama Amora said softly, "greet Uncle Patrick." Amora stood up politely. "Good evening, sir." Patrick crouched down and touched her cheek. "Oh, what a fine young girl. You'll be a big lady one day. You're lucky to have such a hardworking mother." Amora smiled shyly, but something about his eyes made her uncomfortable. They were sharp, like a knife hidden behind a friendly grin. That night, Mama Amora cooked more than usual. There was fried rice, chicken, and even more drinks on the table. Amora had not seen such a feast in months. Patrick laughed loudly during the meal, talking about his business, his cars, his money. Amora noticed her mother's face light up in a way she hadn't seen in a long time. As the days turned into weeks, Patrick visited more often. He brought food, money, and gifts. Soon, he began to stay overnight. Mama Amora was happy, but Amora felt the warmth of their little home slowly slipping away. Amora noticed the changes quickly. Her mother, who used to ask about her day, now spent most evenings in the bedroom with Patrick. When Amora tried to talk about school or share her drawings, her mother brushed her off. "Amora, can't you see I'm tired? Go and read your books." Amora obeyed, though her heart ached. One evening, she overheard Patrick and her mother talking. "This girl is too stubborn," Patrick said. "She looks at me like she's judging me. She might cause problems for us." "She's just a child," Mama Amora replied. "Leave her alone." "A child? You don't know children these days. They see and hear too much." Amora's hands trembled as she pressed her ear against the wall. Why was this man so worried about her? She hadn't done anything wrong. School soon became her only refuge. Amora loved reading, especially stories of people who rose from nothing to greatness. Her teacher, Mrs. Daniels, always praised her for being hardworking. "Amora," Mrs. Daniels would say, "you are a star. Never forget that." But one evening, when Amora returned home from school, she found her books scattered outside. Patrick was standing in the doorway, his face dark. "What are these?" he barked. "They are my school books, sir," Amora whispered. "Too many books," he shouted. "What you need is to learn how to cook, clean, and take care of a man. That's what girls do." Amora's lips trembled. "But Mama said education is important." Before she could finish, Patrick raised his hand. For the first time, Amora saw real violence in his eyes. She stepped back, clutching her books. Her mother came out, looking uneasy. "Patrick, leave her. She's just a child. Then teach her how to respect me." Patrick snapped. That night, Amora lay awake, hugging her books tightly. Her safe little world was cracking apart, piece by piece. Despite everything, Amora held on to her dreams. She dreamed of becoming a doctor, helping people, and living in a house where no one shouted at her. One night, as the city lights flickered in the distance, she whispered to herself, "No matter what happens, I will not give up. I will be somebody." She didn't know then that her greatest trial was yet to come, a storm that would change her life forever. Amora could feel the change as clearly as the evening breeze that swept through their little street. What used to be a warm home full of laughter had become a place where whispers, arguments, and slammed doors filled the air. Mr. Patrick's presence was everywhere. He had moved in permanently, claiming he was helping Mama Amora with bills. He bought new curtains, changed the furniture, and even decided which meals should be cooked. Amora felt like a stranger in her own house. At first, Mama Amora tried to balance things. She would still call Amora "my sunshine" and hug her tightly when Patrick wasn't around. But slowly, Patrick's voice became the louder one in the house. "Your daughter is too soft," he often complained. "She doesn't respect me. A girl her age should already know how to serve men. Do you want her to grow up useless?" Mama Amora would sigh and nod. Sometimes, she would argue weakly, but most times she stayed quiet. Amora noticed her mother's eyes losing the light they once had. It was as if Patrick's shadow had covered them both. One evening, Amora asked, "Mama, don't you love me like before?" Her mother frowned and snapped, "Of course I love you, Amora. But you must learn to respect Patrick. He is the man of the house now." Those words cut deep. Man of the house? Amora thought. But wasn't it just the two of us all these years? Life soon became unbearable. Patrick made strict rules. Amora could not eat until he had finished his meal. She could not sit in the living room when he was watching television. She was not allowed to laugh loudly, sing, or even talk for long on the phone with her school friends. Each time she broke one of his rules, she was scolded or punished. One night, he sent her to sleep outside on the veranda because she forgot to warm his soup. The cold wind pierced her skin as she curled up in a corner. She wiped her tears and whispered, "This is not my home anymore." Amora noticed Patrick watching her sometimes, with eyes that made her skin crawl. She avoided him as much as she could, but it was never enough. He complained about the way she walked, the way she looked at him, even the way she ate. "She's always staring at me like she knows something," he told Mama Amora one afternoon. "She's just a child," her mother replied. "A child? Don't be deceived. That girl doesn't like me. And one day, she'll come between us. I won't let that happen." Amora overheard this and felt fear crawl up her spine. She didn't know what Patrick was planning, but she knew it wasn't good. Her 13th birthday came in silence. No cake, no gifts, no hugs. Amora remembered how her mother once baked a small cake with cheap flour, laughing as the kitchen filled with smoke. This year, Patrick declared, "There's no money for nonsense. She doesn't need a birthday to remember she's alive." Mama Amora didn't protest. She only glanced at Amora and looked away. That hurt more than the words. That night, Amora wrote in her little notebook, "I wish Mama could see me again. I wish she remembered that I'm still her sunshine." One rainy evening, Amora returned from school to find Patrick sitting in the living room, his face hard. "Where have you been?" he barked. "School, sir," Amora replied softly, clutching her wet books. School, school, school. That's all you talk about? What use is school to a girl like you? You should be working to help your mother, not wasting time with books. Amora held her ground. Education is important, sir. My teacher says. Silence. Patrick roared, standing up so suddenly that Amora stepped back. He raised his hand as though to strike her, but instead, he threw her books across the room. They landed in a puddle of water from the leaking roof. Next time, I will throw you out too, he hissed. Amora's heart pounded. She knew he meant it. Later that night, she went to her mother's room. Mama, please, Amora whispered. I can't stay here anymore. Patrick hates me. He wants to throw me out. Her mother sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the floor. Amora, you must try to endure. He provides for us. Without him, how will we survive? But Mama, you always said I was your sunshine. Why can't you protect me? Tears welled up in her mother's eyes, but she quickly wiped them away. Go to bed, Amora. Don't make things harder than they already are. Amora walked out slowly, her chest heavy with a pain she couldn't name. That was the night she realized her mother's love was slipping away, replaced by fear of losing Patrick. The city outside carried on with its endless noise, cars honking, traders shouting, music blasting from shops. But inside Amora's heart, silence grew louder. She could feel a storm approaching. She didn't know when, she didn't know how, but something told her that her time in that house was running out. And she was right. For the day Patrick finally decided she had to leave was closer than she could imagine. The rain had not stopped all day. Heavy clouds gathered above the city, pouring down without mercy. The streets were flooded, children splashed barefoot in puddles, and traders shouted as they tried to cover their wares. Inside the small apartment, tension was as heavy as the storm outside. Amora sat quietly in a corner, her wet school uniform clinging to her thin frame. She had been punished again, this time for returning late after her school's debate practice. Patrick paced the room like a lion in a cage. His face twisted with anger. This girl is nothing but trouble, he spat. I warned you, Mama Amora. She disrespects me every day. Today it is debate practice, tomorrow it will be boys. Do you want your daughter to become useless? Mama Amora sat quietly on the bed, her hands clasped together. She looked tired, older than her years. Amora turned to her, hoping, praying, for her mother to defend her. But her mother's lips stayed sealed. Patrick suddenly stopped pacing. His eyes locked on Amora with a coldness that made her shiver. She cannot stay here anymore, he declared. If you want peace in this house, she must leave. Amora gasped. Viv. Mama, where will I go? Her mother's eyes filled with tears, but she quickly looked away. Patrick's words thundered through the small room. Pack your things tonight. I don't care where you go. This house is not for stubborn children. Mama, please. Amora cried, crawling to her mother's feet. Don't let him do this. I'll be better. I'll do anything you say. Please, don't send me away. For a moment, silence hung in the room. Amora thought her mother would finally rise and fight for her. But then, Mama Amora's voice broke the silence, soft, shaky, but firm. Amora, maybe it's for the best. The words cut sharper than any knife. Amora's tears flowed freely. Mama, you're all I have. But her mother turned her face away, unable to meet her daughter's eyes. That night, Patrick tossed Amora's small bag onto the wet veranda. Inside were only a few clothes and her beloved notebook, its pages already stained with water from the last fight. Out! Patrick barked. Amora looked at her mother one last time, hoping for a miracle. But Mama Amora only sat there, her hands shaking, tears rolling down her cheeks silently. With her heart shattered, Amora stepped into the storm. The rain beat against her face, soaking her hair and clothes. The streets were alive with noise, cars splashing through water, generators humming, and thunder rolling in the distance. But inside Amora, there was only emptiness. She wandered aimlessly, clutching her bag to her chest. The city that once looked so bright now felt like a giant monster, cold and uncaring. By midnight, Amora's legs were trembling. She had nowhere to go. Every shop was closed, every compound gate locked. She walked past groups of boys who whistled at her, their laughter sharp in the night. Fear rose in her chest, and she hurried away. Finally, she found shelter beneath a small wooden kiosk. Curling herself into a ball, she hugged her bag tightly and shivered against the cold wind. Tears streamed down her face as she whispered to herself, "Mama, why?" But there was no answer, only the sound of rain dripping from the roof and the distant rumble of thunder. Hunger gnawed at her belly. She hadn't eaten since afternoon, but there was no food, no money. The city lights glowed in the distance, mocking her. That night, Amora cried herself to sleep. The next morning, the sun rose hot and merciless. Amora woke to the sound of people opening their shops. A woman selling bread nearby looked at her with suspicion. Small girl, what are you doing here? Go home to your parents." Amora lowered her eyes and muttered, "I don't have a home." The woman scoffed and turned away. People passed by, too busy to care. To the city, Amora was invisible. Her stomach growled painfully. She watched as a boy her age bit into a meat pie, crumbs falling to the ground. When he dropped half of it by mistake, Amora rushed forward and picked it up. She dusted it quickly and ate it hungrily. It was the sweetest thing she had ever tasted, not because of its flavor, but because it silenced her hunger for a little while. Later that day, Amora wandered near the market. The noise was overwhelming, traders shouting prices, buses honking, hawkers calling out their goods. She stood by a roasted corn seller, watching the golden cobs crackle over hot charcoal. "Are you going to buy or just stand there?" the woman asked. Amora lowered her head. I don't have money." The woman studied her for a moment, then sighed. "Here. Take this one. But don't make it a habit." Amora's eyes widened. "Thank you, Ma." She clutched the corn like treasure, eating it slowly, savoring every bite. It was the first flicker of kindness she had received since leaving home. That evening, as she sat on the steps of a closed shop, Amora opened her notebook. Despite the smudged pages, she wrote with a shaky hand, "I will not give up. I will survive. One day, I will prove to the world that I am more than what they think of me." She closed the notebook, hugged it to her chest, and whispered into the night, "One day, Mama will see me again. And she will know she was wrong." The city roared around her, full of life and danger. But deep inside Amora's heart, a tiny flame of determination flickered to life. She didn't know it yet, but this was only the beginning of a long, painful journey, one that would shape her into someone the world would never forget.